Okay, everybody. Today we have another reading. What we gotta do? Ministry for the Future. All right, this is for this project right here, the Ministry for the Future. I'm gonna be the artist, so I will show you all the drawing process as well. That will also be something we will do. But for right now, forget about this. We will be doing this. All right. I have no idea what the book is about. Hold on. For the future. Science fiction. We love a little science fiction around here. Let's go ahead and get going, huh? It was getting hotter. Frank Maine got off his mat and padded over to look out the window. Umber stucco walls and tiles, the color of the local clay. Square apartment blocks like the one he was in. Rooftop patios occupied by residents who had moved up there in the night. It was being too hot to sleep inside. Not quite a few of them were standing behind their chest-high walls, looking east. Sky, the color of the buildings, mixed with white where the sun would soon rise. Frank took a deep breath. It reminded him of the air in the sauna. And this, the coolest part of the day. In his entire life, he had spent less than 5 minutes in saunas. He didn't like the sensation. Hot water, maybe. Hot humid air, no. He didn't see why anyone would seek out such a stifling, sweaty feeling. There was no escaping it. He wouldn't have agreed to come here if he had thought it through. It was his hometown. It was his hometown sister city. But there were the other sister cities, other aid organizations. He could have worked in Alaska. Instead, sweat dripping into his eyes and stinging, he was wet, wearing only a pair of shorts. Those were wet. They were wet patches on his mat where he had tried to sleep. He was thirsty, and the jug by his bedside was empty. All over town, the stressed hum of the window box air conditioner fans buzzed like giant mosquitoes. And then the sun cracked the eastern horizon. It blazed like an atomic bomb, which of course it was. In the fields and buildings underneath that brilliant chip of light went dark. Went darker still as a chip flowed to the sides in a burning line that then bulged to a crescent he couldn't look at. The heat coming from it was palpable, a slap in the face, Solar radiation, heating the skin of his face, making him blink. Stinging eyes flowing, he couldn't see much. Everything was tan and beige and brilliant, unbearably white. Ordinary town in Uttar Pradesh. 6 a.m. He looked at his phone. 38 degrees in Fahrenheit. That was. He tapped 103 degrees. Humidity was about 35%. Ugh. The combination was a thing. A few years ago, it would have been among the hottest wet bulb temperatures ever recorded. Now it's just a Wednesday morning. Wails of dismay cut the air coming from the rooftop across the street. Cries of distress. A pair of young women leaning over the wall calling down the street. Someone on that roof was not waking up. Frank tapped on his phone. Called the police. No answer. He couldn't tell if the phone had gone through or not. Sirens now cut the air, sounding distant, as if somehow submerged. With the dawn, people were discovering sleepers in distress, finding those who never wake up from their long hot night, calling for help. The sirens seemed to indicate some of the calls had worked. Frank checked his phone again, charged, showing a connection, but no reply at the police station. He had occasion to call several times in his 4 months here. 2 months ago, 58 days, way too long. July 12, monsoons not yet arrived. Focus on getting through day, one day at a time. Then home to Jacksonville. Comically cool after this. He would have stories to tell, but the poor people on the rooftop across the way. Then he found some of the air conditioners cut off. More cities of distress. His phone no longer showed any bars. Electricity gone. Brownout or blackout. Sirens like the wails of gods and goddesses. The whole Hindu pantheon in distress. Generators were already firing up. Loud, two-stroke engines. Illegal gas diesel. Kerosene. Safe for situations like these. And the law requiring use of liquid natural gas to have a gay-weighted necessity. The air, already bad, would soon be a blanket of exhaust, like breathing from the exhaust pipe of an old bus. Frank coughed at the thought of it. Tried to get a drink from the jug by his bed. It was still empty. He took it downstairs with him, filled it from their filtered tank in the refrigerator in the closet there. Still cold even with the power even with the power off. Now his thermos jug, where it would stay cold for a good long while. He dropped an iodine pill from the jug for good measure, sealed it tight. The weight of it was reassuring. The foundation had a couple generators here in the closet. Some cans of gasoline, enough to keep generators going for 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 days. Something to keep in mind. His colleagues came piling at the door. Hans, Azel, Heather, all red-eyed, flustered. Come on, they said. We have to go. Let me go wipe my nose. Hurry up. Hurry. We have to go. What do you mean? Frank guy's confused. We need to go get help. The whole district has lost power. We have to tell them in Lucknow. We have to tell them in Lucknow. We have to get doctors here. What doctors? Frank asked. We have to try. I'm not leaving, Frank said. They stared at him, looked at each other. Leave the satellite phone, he said. Go get help. I'll stay and tell people you're coming. Uneasily, they nodded, then rushed out. Frank put on a white shirt that quickly soaked up his sweat. He walked out into the street, some of the generators rumbling exhaust into superheated air, powering air conditioners, he presumed. He suppressed a cough. It was too hot to cough. Sucking back in air was like breathing in a furnace, so that one coughed again. Between the intake of steamy air and the effort of coughing, one ended up hotter than ever. People came to him asking for help. He said it would be coming soon. 2 in the afternoon, he told people, come to the clinic. For then, take the old ones and little ones into rooms with air conditioning. The schools would have AC at the government house. Go to those places. Follow the sound of the generators. Every building had a clutch of desperate mourners on its entryway, waiting for ambulance or hearsay. As with coughing, it was too hot to wail very much. It felt dangerous to even talk. One would overheat. And what was there to say anyways? It was too hard to think. People approached him. Please, sir, help, sir. Go to the clinic at 2, Frank said. For now, get to the school, get inside, find some AC somewhere. Get the old ones, little ones out of this. But there's nowhere. Then it came to him. Go to the lake, get water. Listen to scene register. Like Kumbh Mela, during which people went to Varanasi and bathed in the Ganges. He told them the best he could. You could stay cool, he told them. The water will keep you more cool. The man shook his head. The water's in the sun. It's as hot as a bath. It's worse in the air. Curious, alarmed, feeling himself breathing hard, Frank walked down the streets toward the lake. People were outside buildings, clustered in doorways. Some eyed him, most didn't, distracted by their own issues. Round-eyed with distress and fear, and red-eyed from the heat and exhaust, smoke, and dust. Metal surfaces in the sun burnt to touch. He could see heat waves bouncing off of them like air over barbecue. His muscles were jellied. A wire of thread running down his spinal cord was the only thing keeping him upright. It was impossible to hurry, but he wanted to. He walked in the shade as much as possible. This early other morning, one side of the street was usually shaded. Moving to sunlight was getting pushed into a bonfire. One lurched towards the next patch of shade, impelled by the blast. He came to the lake, unsurprised to see people in it already, neck deep, brown faces flustered red with heat. A thick talcum of light hung over the water. He went to the curving concrete road that bordered the lake, and on his side, crouched and stuck his arm in it, up to elbow. It was indeed as warm as a bath, or almost. He kept his arm in, trying to decide if the water was cooler or hotter than his body. In the cooking air, it was hard to tell. After time, he concluded the water surface was approximately the same temperature as his blood, which then was considerably colder than the air. But if it was a little warmer than body temperature, well, it would still be cooler than the air. It was strangely hard to tell. He looked at people in the lake. Only a narrow stretch of water was still in the morning shade of the building trees. That stretch would soon be gone. After that, the entire lake would be lying there in the sun until the late afternoon brought shadows to the other side. That was bad. Umbrellas, though. Everyone had an umbrella. It was a open question how many of the townspeople could fit in the lake. Not enough. They said the town's population was 200,000, surrounded by fields and small hills, over other towns a few or several kilometers away in every direction, an ancient arrangement. He went back to the compound and to the clinic on the ground floor. Out to his room on the next floor, puffing and puffing. It would be easiest to lie there and wait it out. He tapped on the combination. He tapped on the combination to his safe and pulled open his door. Took out the satellite phone, turned it on. Battery fully charged. He called headquarters in Delhi. "We need help," he said. The woman who answered, "The power has gone out." "Power is out here too," Preti said. "It's everywhere." "Everywhere? Most of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Bengal, parts of the west too, and Guwahati, Rajasthan." "What should we do? Wait for help? From where?" "I don't know." "What's the forecast?" The heat wave was supposed to last a while longer. The rising air over the land pulled in cool air from the ocean. When? No one knows. The high pressure cell is huge. It's caught against the Himalaya. It's better to be in the water than the air? Sure, if it's cooler than body temperature. He turned off the phone, returned to the safe. He checked the particulate meter on the wall. 1300 ppm. This was fine for particulates, 25 nanometers and smaller. He went onto the street again, standing in the shade of buildings. Everyone was doing that. No one stood in the sun now. Gray air lay in the town like smoke. It was too hot to have a smell. There was just scorched sensation, and a smell like heat itself, like flame. He returned inside, went downstairs and opened the safe again, took out the keys to the closet, opened the closet and pulled out one of the generators and jerry can of gas. He tried to fill the generator's gas tank and found it was already full. He put the can of gas back in the closet, took the generator to the corner room where the window was, and the air conditioner was. The window box AC had a short cord that was plugged into a wall socket under the window. But it wouldn't do to run a generator in a room because of the exhaust. But it also wouldn't do to run the generator on the street below the window. It would surely be snatched. People were desperate. So he went back to the closet, rooted around, found an extension cord up to the building's roof, which had a patio surrounded by a rampart that was 4 floors off the street. Extension cord only reached down to the floor below it. He went down and took the AC unit out of the window on the second floor, hefted it up the stairs, gasping for sweat and sweating. For a moment he felt faint. Then sweat stung his eyes and a surge of energy coursed through him. He opened the 4th floor office window, got the AC unit balanced on the ledge, and closed the window on it. Pulled out the plastic side panels and closed off parts of the window still open. Up to the rooftop terrace, started the generator, listened to it choke and rattle to its 2-stroke percussion. Initial puff of the smoke. After that, its exhaust was invisible. It was loud enough. People would hear it. You could hear others around the town. Plug in the extension cord down the stairs of his upper office. Plug in the AC unit. Turn it on. Grinding hum of the AC and fresh of air. Ah, God. The unit wasn't working. No, it was. Lowering the temperature of the outer air by 10 or 20 degrees. They left it about 85 degrees as he thought of it. Maybe more. In the shade, that was fine. People could do that, even in the humidity. Just to rest be easy, and the cooler air would fall down the stairs and fill the whole place. Downstairs, he tried to close the window where the AC unit had been. Found that it was stuck. He slammed it downward with his fist, almost breaking the glass. Finally, he gave a jerk and came down. Out onto the street. Out onto the street, closing the door off to the nearest school. The little shop nearby sold food and drinks to students and their parents. The school was closed. The shop too. People were there, and he recognized some. "I've got air conditioning. Going to the clinic," he said to them. "Come on over." Silently, a group followed him. 7 or 8 families, including the shop owners, locking their door after them. They tried to stay in the shade, but now there was little shade to find. Then preceded wives who herded children to introduce their single file to stay in the shade. Congregations were in Awadhi, Frankta, or Bhojpur. He only spoke a little Hindi, as they knew they would speak in that language to him. If they wanted to talk to him, they'll confer with someone who would speak to him in English. Oh my God, I'm reading like absolute garbage right now. It's because I'm sick. It's like anytime I talk, like I feel like I can't breathe. I don't know why. Oh, Jesus. He has never gotten used to trying to help the people he couldn't talk to. Embarrassed, ashamed, he blasted past his reluctance to reveal his bad Hindi and asked them how he felt, where their families were, whether they had a place to go. If needed, he had said those things. They looked at him curiously. At the clinic, he opened up and people filed in. Without instruction, they went upstairs to the room where the AC was running, sat down on the floor. Quickly, the room was full. He went back downstairs and stood outside the door and welcomed people in as if they showed any interest. Soon, the whole building was full as it should have been. After that, he locked the door. People sat, sweltering in the relative cool of the rooms. Frank checked on his desk computer. Temperature on the ground floor, 38 degrees. Perhaps cool in the room with the AC unit. Humidity now 60%. Bad to have both high heat and high humidity. Unusual. In the dry season on the Gangetic Plain, January through March, it was cooler and drier. Then it grew hot, but it was still dry. Then with soaking in the monsoon came cooler temperatures, and the omnipresent clouds that gave relief from direct sunlight. The heat wave was different. Cloudless heat and yet high humidity. A terrible combination. Jesus, bro. This guy, I don't know. Oh, dude, this is. I don't like this book so far. It's like when I read a book, right? It's like, oh, I can visualize everything that's happening, right? With this one, it's hard. It's oh my god. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like let's say I want to make you visualize this car right here, but all I'm doing is describing this part of the wheel, this part of like this metal framing right here, and then the door. And I'm like, okay, imagine the car. You're like, what the hell? What do you mean? Imagine the car. Instead of giving like a very broad vision of the entire car, like saying like how this tilts in, how there's like a little thing right here, how like it's very broad where you make out the small details. He's pointing out only the small details, leaving no room for interpretation. It's like, it sucks. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it's also maybe because I'm sick and I'm reading it like a fucking dummy. Hold up. Let me go. Oh my god. I don't know. I think I'm sick, bro. Let me go blow my nose again. Where was I? Combination. All right. I took this pill for mucus relief because Jesus, that is terrible. The clinic had 2 bathrooms. At one point, the toilet stopped working. Presumably, the sewers led to the wastewater treatment plant somewhere. They ran on electricity, of course. That might not have the generator capacity to keep working, although that was hard to believe. Anyway, it had to happen. Now, Frank let people out as needed so they can go in the alley somewhere, as the hill villages in Nepal, where there were no toilets at any time. He had been shocked for the first time he saw, and now he took nothing for granted. Sometimes people began crying, and little crowds surrounded them. Elders in distress, little children in distress. I mean, they are little people, technically. Quite a few accidents of excretion. Yeah, excretion. He put buckets in the bathrooms, and when they were full, he took them out into the streets and poured them into the gutters. Took them back up. Took them back. The old man died. Frank helped some younger men carry the body to the rooftop patio where they had wrapped the old one in a thin sheet, maybe a sari. Much worse, he came later that night when they did the same thing for an infant. Everyone in every room cried as they carried the little body up to the roof. Frank saw generators were running out of gas and went down to the closet to get fuel and refilled it. His water jug was empty. The taps had stopped working. There were two big water cans in the refrigerator, but he didn't talk about those. He refilled the jug from one of them. In the dark, the water was still a bit cool. He went back to work. 4 people died that night. In the morning, the sun again rose like a blazing furnace of heat. It was blasting the rooftop and its sad cargo wrapped body. Every rooftop and looking down into town sidewalk was on to a morgue. The tone was a morgue. The town was a morgue, and it was hot as ever, maybe even hotter. The thermostat now said 42 degrees, humidity 60%. Frank looked at the screens dully. He had slept about 3 hours in snatches. The janitor was still chuttering along in its irregular two-stroke. The AC box was still vibrating like a bad fan. It was. The sound of the other generators and air conditioners still filled the air, but it wasn't going to make any difference. He went downstairs and opened the safe and called Pretty again on the satellite phone. After 20 to 40 tries, she picked up. "What is it?" "Look, we need help here," he said. "We're dying here." "What do you think?" she said fiercely. "Do you think you're the only ones?" "No, but we need help. We all need help," she cried. Frank paused upon this. It was hard to think. Pretty was in Delhi. "Are you okay there?" he asked. No, Pretty had hanged up. No answer. Pretty had hanged up. His eyes were stinging again. He wiped them clear. He went back upstairs to get the buckets in the bathroom. They were filing more slowly now. People were emptied out. Without a water supply, they would have to move soon, one way or another. He came back from the streets and opened his door. There was a rush, and he knew he was knocked inside. 3 young men held him down on the floor, one with a squared-off back handgun as big as his head. He pointed the gun at Frank, looked at the round circle of the barrel, and pointed at him. The only part of the squared-off thing of black metal. The whole world contracted to that little circle. His blood pounded through him, and he felt his body go rigid. Sweat poured from his face and palms. "Don't move," one of the other men said. "Move and you die." Cries from upstairs tracked the intruder's progress. The muffled sounds of the generator and AC cut off. The more general mumble of the town came wafting in the open doorway, people passing and standing carelessly and moving on. There weren't very many of them. Frank tried to breathe as shallowly as possible. The sting from his right eye was ferocious, but he only clamped the eyes shut with the other hand, and the other started resolutely away. He felt he couldn't resist, but he wanted to live. As if he were watching the whole scene from a hallway up the stairs, well outside his body with any feelings he might be feeling, all except the stinging in his eye. The young men clopped downstairs, the generator and AC unit. Out they went into the street. The men holding Frank down let him go. "We need this more than you do," one of them explained. The man with the gun scowled as he heard this. He pointed the gun at Frank one last time. "You did this," he said. Then they slammed to the door on him, and they were gone. Frank stood up, rubbed his arms where the men had grasped him. His heart was still racing. He felt sick to his stomach. Some people upstairs came down and asked how he was. They were worried about him. They were concerned he had been hurt. The solicitude pierced him. Suddenly he felt more than he could afford to feel. He sat on the low stair and hid his face in his hands, racked by sudden paroxysm. His tears made his eyes stingless. Finally he stood up. "You have to go to the lake," he said. "There's water there, and it will be cooler. Cooler in the water than on the sidewalk." Several of the women were looking unhappy at this. One of them said, "You may be right, but there will be too much sun. We should wait till dark." Frank nodded. "That makes sense." He went back to the little store with its owner, feeling jittery and light-headed and weak. The sauna had feeling hammered on him. It was hard to carry a sack of food and can and bottled drinks back to the clinic. Nevertheless, he helped ferry over 6 loaded supplies. Bad as he felt, it seemed as if he was stronger than any of the others in the little group. Although at times he wondered if some of them could in fact just keep dragging along like this all day. But none of them spoke as they walked, nor even met eyes. We can get more later," the shop owner finally declared. The day passed. Was there a grief or no? The groans people were too high. People were too hot and thirsty to make a fuss. Okay. Red eyes and brown faces staring at Frank as he stumbled across it and trying to get corpses of family members to the roof where they had scorched in the sun. Bodies would be rotting, but maybe they would be annealed before that. It was too hot. No odors could survive in this heat. Only the smell of scorched, steamy air itself. Maybe that's the scented smell of rotting meat. No one lingered up here now. Frank counted 14 wrapped bodies, adult and child, glancing across the rooftop level of the town. He saw other people were similarly engaged, silent, withdrawn, down, glazing, hurrying. No one No one he could see looked on as he was looking around. Downstairs, the food and drink were already gone. Frank had made a count, which he found hard. Something like 52 people in the clinic. He sat on the stairs for a while, then he went to the closet and stared into its contents. He refilled his water jug, drank deeply, refilled it again. No longer cool, but not hot. There was the can of gas. They could burn the bodies if they had to. There was another generator, but there was nothing to power with it that would do any good. The satellite phone was still charged, but there was no one to call. He wondered if he should call his mom. Hi, Mom, I'm dying. No. The day crawled second by second to his last hour, and Frank conferred with the store owner and his friends. On murmurs, they all agreed. Time to go to the lake. They roused people, explaining the plan. Helped those who needed it to get down the stairs. A few couldn't do it. That presented a quandary. The few old men said they would stay behind as long as they needed, then come along to the lake. They said goodbye to the people leaving as if things were normal, but their eyes gave it all away. Many wept as they left the clinic. Dude, this book sucks, man. Like, he's writing like a fucking goofball, dude. Oh my god. It makes my eyes hurt. That's how bad this thing is, bro. It's like, let me finish the chapter at least. They made their way in the afternoon shadows to the lake, hotter than ever. No one on the streets and sidewalks. No wailing from the buildings. Still some generators grumbling, some fans grinding. Sound seemed scouted in the livid air. At the lake, they found a desperate scene. There were many, many people in the lake. Heads dotted the surface everywhere on the shores, and out there, it was presumably deeper. There were still heads. People semi-submerged as they lay on impromptu rafts or some sort of another. But now, not all these people were alive. The surface of the lake seemed to have low miasma ring out of it. Now the stank of death, rotting meat could be discerned from it in one's torched nostrils. They agreed it might be best to start sitting on the low lakeshore walkway or corniche and put their legs in the water. Down at the end of the walkway, there was still room to do that, and they trudged down together as they sat in a group in a line. The concrete under them was still too radiating the day's heat. They were all sweating, except for some who were redder than the rest. Incandescent in the shadows of the lake afternoon, as twilight fell, they propped these people up and helped them to die. The water of the lake was hot as a bath, clearly hotter than the body temperature. Frank thought hotter than the last time he had tested it. It only made sense. He had read that if all the sun's energy that hit the earth were captured by it, would rather than bouncing away, temperatures would rise until the seas boiled. He could well imagine what it would be like. The lake fell only a few degrees from boiling, and yet sometime after sunset, as quick twilight passed and darkness fell, they all got in the water. It just felt better. Their bodies told them to do it. They could sit in the shallowest part of the lake bottom, heads out of the water, to try to endure. Sitting next to Frank was a young man he had seen playing part of the Carnaut to one of the plays at the local media. Frank felt the blankness pierce again, as when people had shown concern for him, and the memory of the young man in the moment Juana had endured. Carna, helpless with the spoken curse, was about to kill him. At that point, the young man shouted triumphantly, "It's only fate." He managed to take one last swing before going down under Arijuana's impervious sword. Now the young man was sipping the water of the lake, round-eyed with dread and sorrow. Frank had to look the other way. The heat began to cook his head. His body crawled with desire to get out of his hot bath. The two hot baths run like one from a sauna into the icy lake that ought to accompany all such saunas. Feel that blessed shock of the cold smacking the breath out of his lungs as he had felt it once in Finland. People there spoke of trying to maximize temperature differential, shift 100 degrees into a second, and see what it felt like. But this train of thought was like scratching an itch, thereby masking it worse. He tasted the hot lake water, tasted how foul it was, filled with organics, and who knows what, and who knew what. Still, he had the thirst that couldn't be slaked. All water in one's stomach. And there was no refuge anywhere. The world, both inside and outside, well higher than body temperature. They were ports. I mean, dude, this book is so butt, bro. This booty cheeks ass reading. This is not as good as Oil and Water at all. Have they started on this? Get the on the artist. Create a piece of art that represents an idea, opinion, and concept from this text. Sorry, it can be a collage. A cartoon or anything that pros are thinking of the meaning from the text. Describe the significance of your art as it connects it. Text. Create a core discussion. This book sucks, man. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like jumping from like piece to piece. None of the paragraphs are like, it's not structured. Like, there's no flow. It's all like choppy. And you're like, what are you saying? What are you saying right now? He tries to be like super in detail. You know what I mean? Like how Habila wanted to do. Habila was super detailed in everything he wrote, right? But this guy just sucks at it, like super bad. Like, this guy's not good at whatever the fuck he's doing. Like, oh my god. Well, the 82% like this book. Are we playing, bro? Are we for real? Wish you would have said that. Like, some way the book would have been like, hey, by the way, you're reading something else. That's not what you're supposed to be reading. It's not connected. Oh, I wish it was like, hey, by the way, you're reading someone else's perspective right now. Oh, this is so dumb, man. This is so dumb. I don't like this at all. At all. Jesus. I'm gonna keep reading it just because I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. But right now, it's just, oh my god, I'm low-key wanting to end the video and I might not post the rest of this I'm just gonna post like me doing like the comic that I want to do for the project, but damn, man, it's like this book sucks. I don't know. I'm gonna read it, and then as I'm just doing the drawing, I'm be like, hey, this book didn't actually suck, but so far it sucks a lot. All right.